along with all the other projects that we've had this spring and summer related to working on the house, this opportunity has been sitting around waiting to be addressed, and that's all this spalling concrete on the north garage wall right at the base. It's been there a long time. It was hidden by the wood pile. I'm not putting a wood pile back. I'm going to be taking up these planks now that the construction work is done and doing a little landscaping here. So it's time to get this thing repaired. So stick around if you want to see how I take care of that. Let's get started. I'm going to be using a vinyl patch to repair this area. I already did a little sample area just to test to see how it would work, and it goes on really smoothly and evenly. So I'm going to mix up a whole bunch now and start working on this. I'm going to put the vinyl patch on this morning while it's still shady over here. That'll give it a chance to set up without the sun being on it, dry a little more slowly. I'm afraid if I did it later in the day with the sun on it, it would dry too quickly and crack. The particular vinyl patch I'm using requires that I have a moist surface. So before I even mix up the vinyl patch, I'm going to come across here and just simply take the hose and wash this down, and washing it this way accomplishes two things. If there's any residual dust or debris on here, it'll rinse that away, and it gets it good and moist. The reason I'm starting early on getting this washed down is because I don't want excess moisture. I just want the concrete damp. And if I do this now before I mix up the vinyl patch, it gives it a chance to drain off and just be damp before I put this on. With that out of the way, let's go mix up some vinyl patch. The material I'm using is something I picked up at the local building supply store. You can buy vinyl patch from Sackcrete, Quickcrete, this particular brand, Aconia. I've used a couple of those other ones. I've no real preference here. This was available at a good price, and it seems to be working out for the things I'm using it for. What I do is I always store stuff like this in mortar mix and other dry materials. I have extra drywall buckets from years of doing drywall projects. Put it in there with a lid on the top, help keeps it dry when you don't get it all used right away. That said, comes time to mix. I've got this little pan I've used for years for small jobs, mixing up mortar, usually for tucking and different things like that. So this calls for you to put the water in first, add the powder to it, and then mix slowly. So I did some rough calculations based on the manufacturer requirements, and with about 2 cups of water, give or take an ounce or two, it's going to take about 6 pounds of powder. Well, I know that what I have in here is 2 pounds of powder. I'm going to start with that, and we'll do 3 of these and mix it slowly. With this particular brand, the thing to remember is that after it stakes for just a couple of minutes to get activated, you need to use it up in about 30 minutes time. So have everything laid out and planned. I seem to be getting close here to the texture I want, using what the manufacturer recommends. Now, for my way of thinking, it's still a little wet. So what I have off to the side is 1 pound measured up. And I'm going to add that slowly until I get the putty-like consistency I want. Very close, but a little wetter than I would like. About a ½ pound extra here. And that's a pretty good consistency right there. I'm gonna let that steak a bit, a couple of minutes. And what that means is it just gives it a chance to activate and work together. I'm going to get this moved over to the area that I'm going to patch, and then we'll get started on that. Mixture's had a chance to sit for a couple of minutes. I'm going to put some on my trowel here. Whoops. And drop a bunch on the ground. That's nice. That doesn't help. It's not. It's on the plastic, so I can pick it off of there, thankfully. Still a little moist. So I gotta be careful how much I apply. Works a little different than regular mortar when you apply it. Remember, it's not exactly mortar, it's got a vinyl component to it. And that's what helps it hold up. Now I want it a little moist because I need it to work into the depressions I have here around that stone in the concrete. All right, that's as far as I want to go. Now, the first section I use my flat trowel. I'm going to try something different today. I've got an old scrap drywall taping knife that I use as a paint shield now because it's got a couple of nicks on the edge. We're going to try that today because the position I can hold it, I think I'm going to get a better pattern on here. And it does seem to be working better. I can hold it at an angle that I can get up right close to that siding. Get it evened up. And do a little smoothing here with the trowel. I can eyeball some spots a little high, fill in where it's a little low. The trick with this patch is you don't want to get it too thick. It's only meant for thin coats. So if you get it on too thick, you're going to end up with cracking. I'm going to fill in where that joint meets there with the test patch. Okay, I'm getting to the point where I can't really work it much anymore, so remember the old adage, quit while you're ahead. Good enough. I'll go mix up another batch and keep working my way down till I get this thing done. First coat's been completed. Took me a couple of days to get that done because I ran out of patch. I only had one bag, and I ended up, because I got into this section right here where it was really deep, about a bag and a half of material. And because it's so deep, I just set it in around the rough stone. And after this dries for a couple of days, I'm going to come back in and do a nice thin skim coat over the top to even it up. And after it's all done and painted, it should look pretty good. The finished top coat is all completed. And the material doesn't allow you to feather it too much, so it's a little high on the edge, but it's even all the way across. And I'll try to take a brick or something and smooth those edges a little bit before I paint it, and I think we're going to look pretty good. It's certainly going to be a lot better than the mess I had with all that spalling. I think we got this one under control.